This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in, Paul Catalina, Garrett Ross with you today as we do our Monday recaps. And there's just so much to get to. This was an insane week of college football. And right off the bat, Tim Brando said something that I've been saying for a couple years. He and I are of like mind on quite a few things when it comes to college football. But he said something on our show the other day about, look, there's more parity now. The gap between teams is different. The transfer portal has changed it. And I think that this weekend was the perfect example of that. Northern Illinois has never won a game like that in their history.
Nope.
And it was never something we'd even think about. But also, when you look across the landscape of things that happened, Auburn should not lose to Cal 2 years in a row.
No, they shouldn't.
Like, based on resources of the program and all of that. What is happening in the portal era is, if you're not going to start somewhere in the near future, you're going to go play somewhere else. Now, does that mean you're going to be a superstar at the other place? No. But it also means that the replacement that they may go get for you at said place may not be as good as you are, and there might be a talent deficit. And unless you are a couple of programs in probably now only over short periods of time, are not able to hoard talent like you were, because, again, it's, go be the best player at Cal might be better than being the third best player at Auburn. And then Auburn, the best player might be hurt. And then that, again, the talent is, when you have free agency, talent gets more easily distributed, and dynasties are harder to come by.
They are, but I think right now we're also in a place where you have probably about 3 to maybe 5 teams that can hold on to that depth. And I don't think they can even hold on to it to the masses that we saw 2 or 3 years ago. But you see your Georgias, your Texas, Ohio State, and a few others that they do still remain some of that depth. They have it on their roster. But now I think you see more teams who you kind of got to go all in for 1 year at a time, and you got to be smart with your money. I also think you've got to be like, if you look at Auburn, for instance, like they've done a good job of dressing different roster deficiencies through the portal, but they didn't go all in on a quarterback. They decided to ride with Peyton Thorne. Whereas if they might have, maybe you adjust that to where you bring in a few less linemen, or you bring in a guy that can be a difference maker at a receiver, but not necessarily he would be a number one guy at another place. But you bring in an alpha like Miami did at your quarterback, and you make up for it.
I mean, there's not many.
That's where it's at now.
There's not like, You got to get in line early at the Alpha store.
Too.
You have to get in line early at the Alpha store. You can't just – they're not all out there.
Correct.
Cam Ward, look, I went and looked. Kyle McCord had another great game, torched Georgia Tech this week. I mean, that was wound up being a better game, but like they jumped out on Georgia Tech at Syracuse, and he's putting up big numbers in that offense. For the Orange, I looked at Kyle McCord's numbers from a year ago. They're better over these first two games than they were last year because the offense is really different. But I'm starting to think that the offensive coordinator changed, right? It's Chip Kelly now at Ohio State. So I'm starting to think that maybe the issue wasn't totally Kyle McCord, that it was kind of schematic there, because if he can throw the ball around the field at Syracuse, and they've got some good players. Don't get me wrong. They've got some Aranda Gadsden the second is really good. And they've got some wide receivers that can play, but let's be real
what
here.
He was working with.
It's not wide receiver you.
Yeah.
So, and I get like why you maybe want to move on from it, but from what I've seen portal-wise this year, there's two quarterbacks that were definitely going to help you, and he was one of them, and the other one was Cam Ward. The rest, like Grayson McCall, got roughed up, really played poorly against Tennessee. They looked fantastic against NC State. I was wrong about that one. We might have to do like
where Paul was right,
where
Paul's wrong.
Paul's right and Paul's wrong segment on Mondays. I told you on the text, I was like, man, I was wrong about NC State. Like I thought they would be chippy enough to hang in there. Nico, and it's not even Nico,
so good,
and the running backs, and like they tore them apart. And to me, that's like, that might be a conference thing. It shouldn't be, but like Tennessee just destroyed them.
I don't think that's a conference thing. I think that's one where Tennessee is one of those programs, kind of like Texas. Like they've been waiting, they've been down. You know what can be there and what you can achieve if you put everything in place. And this is just timing. I think Tennessee's one of those programs where you had the transfer portal, you had NIL, you had a fan base and these donors who have been longing for a long time to get back there. And now they can properly utilize this. And you finally found the right coach for the program in Josh Heupel, where, I mean, everything's just clicking for Tennessee right now. So I don't think it's necessarily them being like an SEC, ACC thing with that one. I think they're just in a better place in the current landscape of college football than what NC State is.
Yeah, they are. And I mean, there's a lot to get you. Look, it was, and for our chat, which is, a large group of Big 12 fans. I mean, we're mostly Big 12, right? I mean, that's what we have. But we have others. It was not a banner week for the Big 12.
It wasn't
at all. Let's just go first. Elephant in the room. Colorado got their asses absolutely handed to them.
Not surprised.
None of us were, except the one guy who should have been, Smokey.
He's been
paranoid,
puckered up.
He's paranoid.
Puckered from
he's like a shelter dog.
Yes.
I mean, he is. He's just like, the rain and then the noise. And I was like, man, I watched North Dakota State really do most of the things they wanted to do and just get out athleted. That was the only thing. Like, Colorado had one good drive.
Yeah.
One good drive, which you knew was going to happen. I thought it would happen earlier and not later. I thought like maybe early, the emotions and all that, but that atmosphere in Lincoln, that the way that the team like took it in and like just used that energy, and my God, I'm forgetting his name right now.
Linebacker, number 5?
No, number 9.
Oh,
the defensive tackle was absolutely old school, big boy, badass Nebraska again. He was a throwback. And Bullock, the linebacker. He is really good. They have very good defensive players, and they've got a great defensive coordinator in Tony White. So and look, Raiola, to me, I know he's a true freshman. He looks more to me
he was so calm and poised.
He looks more to me like a sophomore who's just hasn't started. Like, that's what he looks like to me, that he's really talented, very poised, very calm. I mean, it helps that your godfather is Matthew Stafford. It helps that I think he trains with Bobby Stroop and Patrick Mahomes. So like he has all that going for him. But ultimately, like, this team is run through the defense like Nebraska used to be. They're built on that defensive personality. They have some really fun skill players. They've got good running backs. Dowdell's really, really powerful and good. Raiola is better than they've had at quarterback in a very long time, and it's only his second start. But what we said about Colorado all last week was this is not a physical team at all.
Nope.
And that is the calling card of Nebraska. They are physical. They are mean. They are angry. They show up pissed off and ready to go. And that's the Matt Rule bump, right? And I don't know where it goes, but looking at just comparing what Nebraska's schedule on the way out, like they could very reasonably be 9-3. Mm-hmm. They could very reasonably 9-3. And I don't like after watching and how physical they are, they're a team I don't want to play.
No,
I don't want to play them. Like we might win, but we're going to feel it kind of a thing. I don't want to play Nebraska. The way that they are intense and get after the ball and get after their pass rush was lethal the other night. And Colorado, Deion knows it. Like I think there's a lot of people like that are still like slamming Deion for like things that aren't football Deion.
Right.
Football Deion knows this. Now he needs to adjust his mindset on what the team looks like. And I wonder if he'll be able to do it better when Shadur and Shiloh and Travis Hunter are gone.
No, because I think he's going to be gone. I do. Like I will own that. And if I'm wrong, I will completely come out and say I was. But I think this is just a trial run. We're doing this. I'm having this fun with my kids and I'm out. Because to me, if you go back and look at this, like Nebraska, everything, the differences in these two programs from when they met last year to this year, Nebraska is a program that is building a true college football team and developing. Colorado is just a show. Like there's no development. It's the same thing you got last year. I honestly, at this point, feel bad for Shadur. I feel bad for Travis Hunter because to me, those are two guys that legitimately have NFL talent who are being neglected. Like you're not doing anything to help them at all. Like they should be on a program with a legit offensive line and players around them, and they could make anybody a contender. Now, this is just narcissistic behavior that's getting out of control, in my opinion.
Look, yeah, I have no basis to tell you you're wrong because there is way more evidence to your point than there is to mine. But I do think where the rubber meets the road with Deion is going to be when your kids and Travis Hunter, who might as well be.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you went and got him to go to Jackson State and you like all of that, all of this. You got all that to happen. You've created this thing at Colorado. I believe that he has the wherewithal to be a good coach, but he has to stop living in the cult of personality that comes around him, which again is your narcissistic thing. And he will be better off, or he's got to prove that he can coach when he didn't make the quarterback himself. Mm-hmm. He's got to do that. And I don't like, and look, Shadur didn't make it through the whole game. And
I don't like that was another thing. He definitely looked like he should have been in concussion protocol and checked out.
He
and all of that.
He was hurting one way or the other. Like I saw a lot of people like, oh, look at Shadur walking off with 2 minutes left. I'm like,
he got rocked.
He probably has to go shit blood. Like,
nothing's on Shadur. I mean, nothing is on Shadur.
Let's let the best player on the team, or one of the best players, like let's let the guy who got pummeled and never quit trying.
Yeah.
To like go in and get looked at because he was getting beat up. And it is that offensive line and their lack of running game is absolute football malpractice.
Yep.
It is football malpractice. Diaz, first thing out of his mouth at halftime, it was the first thing out of his mouth in the press conference after the game. First thing, we've got to get a running game. We've got to protect Shadur. We've got to get a running game. We've got to protect Shadur. And we know that he knows that. We all know that. But long term for Colorado, they couldn't stop Nebraska when Nebraska didn't commit penalties. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing that
Yeah, they got to
stopped
clean that
them.
up. That was
Yeah.
bad.
Now, granted, those officials, I think, got a little too like. There's a lot of people watching this game. You know,
No, but I mean, Nebraska did. That was the one thing we've seen.
like
that with the past.
Nebraska has penalty issues.
Yeah, they do.
They have penalty issues. But there were 2 holding calls in that game where I'm like, are you just calling that because you called it looked like the last one, but it wasn't, and you
Right.
were over here? They lost 2 touchdowns on holding calls, and one of them legit, totally legit, the holding call. The other one was not,
Right.
which is where, again, the sky judge could come in and be like, no, it wasn't. Pick it up. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Nobody has to know the difference. Nobody has to know. We can see it all in real time. Like, let's review that real quick. Nope. Not a hold, not a hold, not a hold. I know what you thought it was, but it's not. Just tell them not a hold. And then afterwards we can say like, no. Like the guy with the video did
Right.
that. So the NFL is like halfway doing it with the accelerated video review. I saw it a couple times yesterday where clearly somebody's like, no. What's a touchdown? Go, you know, or whatever. First down, go.
Mhm.
Which they need full time.
Right.
Full time. It would like the replay thing would go so much
it would
faster.
speed everything up.
Yeah. So, but there was like 4 targeting calls in the game. 2 or 3 were actual targeting. 1 wasn't. So game took forever. I think like it just the officials on both sides, like both teams had scores of penalties. It was a problem for both of them. But the only thing, and I just say this about Colorado, the only thing Colorado could do to stop Nebraska was hope that Nebraska held them.
Mhm.
And they're going in the Big 12. It's not going to get easier.
No.
As a matter of fact, Nebraska, the way they're built right now, would be one of the teams we'd be like, oh God, if they were still in this league.
If you could put like Nebraska and Utah and let them go at it, that would be fun as hell.
Yeah. Exactly. Those 2 teams look very similar.
Very similar.
And stylistically. And that they'll punish you. And I do hope Cam Rising's okay.
I do too.
And that we're not going to have to see another season of not
Wilson
Cam Rising.
Brutal.
Hopefully broken finger's not as severe as a completely destroyed knee.
Yeah.
But I saw so many things this weekend that, you know, opened my eyes to a lot of things going on in college football about talent and distribution and how, you know, there's this, you know, scale that nobody's ever going to figure out, I don't think, when it comes to player movement until there's like contracts.
Right.
But until there's something that's like set in stone, like the way that the talent flows around, you're going to have this chaos. And Notre Dame had no excuse to lose to Northern Illinois. None. Mike Denbrock, who I just a couple weeks ago was singing the praises of as one of the better offensive coordinators. I don't know what he was doing the other day. Like the best player on your team is Love, the running back, right? He's the best player on your offense. Well, why are you not running play actions off of him? And why are you not feeding him more? Like, what do you like?
I think sometimes if you have a star quarterback, you get in your own way, and you
but
think
I mean, this
like,
Riley
everything's
Leonard,
got to go.
Riley Leonard, and you know I love Riley Leonard. He's not a star quarterback. He's very good and he's very dependable, and he's not going to get you beat.
Correct.
But he also is not maybe an X factor.
Yeah.
Okay. And because when it came on, but they should be they didn't run him enough the other day. They're trying to do something like Mike Denbrock was trying to run his Jaden Daniels offense, and he didn't have Jaden. I've seen that. I've seen it with Mike Norvell. He's trying to run his Jordan Travis offense with DJU. Mike Denbrock's trying to run his Jaden Daniels offense with Riley Leonard. I hate to break it to you guys. Those two are not the other two.
No.
They're not even close. And Notre Dame's defense gave up 16 points. They were as good as advertised. But their offense was abysmal. And love the emotion from the Northern Illinois coach. Who, if we have,
he'll be on today.
He's on today.
Yep.
Yeah, he's on today. Coach Hammock. And God, it was great. It was great. I mean, but they have no business doing that. But guess what? Northern Illinois has players on their roster that can play at these other schools.
Absolutely.
And that was never the case before. Ever.
No, I think that's kind of that's the biggest thing to me is like over the past couple of weeks is seeing the group of 5 teams and how they're able to kind of like compete up. Like if you go and look at like Texas State got another good win. I know it was over UTSA, but like their matchup this week
win.
with Arizona State, that's one that they can win. And traditionally
Arizona State just beat an SEC team.
And that's a program like where traditionally Texas State wouldn't be able to get those guys. But when you're able to get Jordan McLeod to come in, and it's just cool to see the parity that's spread out there. And that's going to be the thing to me is like watching. UNLV is another example. UNLV is really good. And they've shown that they can step up and beat Power 4 teams. So that finding out who gets that last spot, and I'm more intrigued about that. About the playoff than probably anything else as the season progresses so far early on.
Yeah, I am like we got it before we go to the first break because we have so much more many more games to talk about. I do want to talk about Arkansas and Oklahoma State. Arkansas blew every chance they had to put that game away.
Did.
I put that on Oklahoma State is a better coach team. But Oklahoma State had a lot of weaknesses exposed in that game. And the one thing Arkansas knew, I think about this one game all the time because I was there. I've talked to multiple players who played in it. Was Baylor played in it's a basketball game, but I think about this when I think about star players who are like superstars in their own right, in their time that they're playing. But RJ Hunter was playing for Georgia State. Baylor was playing, it was a 14-3 matchup or 13-4 matchup. It was in Jacksonville. And Baylor shut him down. Absolutely shut him down for 90% of the game. And the whole time they knew, like, okay, we have to withstand whatever flurry is coming because he's not going to keep missing shots. Right. Arkansas, you could feel it, especially in the fourth quarter when the game was close and then it was tied and then they had to tie it again. Alan Bowman had started to play much better and he started to complete some passes. But this is what I'm also talking about with Alan Bowman, where
there's stretches of just
if they're going to win the Big 12, they need him to be better than he was the other day. So that if you have these games with teams that are better coached than Arkansas, that they don't come back and get you when they shouldn't. For example, if they play that way against, say, Utah, I don't know their schedule. I don't know if they play Utah.
A couple of weeks, because Utah's going to roll into Stillwater in a couple weeks.
Like if they do that, a healthy Utah team, Utah won't let them back in. That's where Arkansas did. They need something to happen when Ollie's not having his best day. But for Arkansas, and I could see it on the sideline, I could see it every time they showed him as it got longer. You could see it in their heads, like Ollie's going to get us eventually. Like he's gonna do something, and then he did because he's Ollie freaking Gordon. So you did a great job on him, but then you gave him extra time to do something, and then you just don't do that. And Baylor lost that game to Georgia State because in the last 3 minutes or 4 minutes of the game, RJ Hunter made like 7 shots. It was unbelievable. It was ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it in person in a basketball game, where in this amount of time something happens. With football, it's obviously a different thing. You need just one big play, and they got those plays from Ollie Gordon down the stretch. And where he was not effective in the first half and a good chunk of the second, eventually Ollie's going to get you. All he needs to do in a close game is get you once. And that's what happened. And good on Oklahoma State for fighting it off, but there are some weaknesses that I did not think that they had.
No, there are, and you really got to be concerned going forward with Colin Oliver having sustained in the season-ending injury, because the adjustments on defense that Arkansas was able to have really kind of helped them get back in the game in the third quarter with containing Taylor Green. You also had the situation where Jaquinic Jackson got banged up, and that's kind of been his biggest issue going back to Utah. Is he's always struggled with staying healthy, but when he is, you see how efficient he is as a rusher. But no, I think the biggest thing for Oklahoma State is you finally did see Bowman get into somewhat of a rhythm, and the receivers that kind of get lost in the shuffle because of his inconsistencies. Presley stepped up, had a big game, was able to make some big plays down the stretch that helped him get back in it. And you're right. I mean, 95% of that game, Arkansas held Ollie Gordon in check, but he was able to get his, and Arkansas's offense just wasn't able to make the plays. It was like they got complacent down the stretch of the fourth quarter there. You started seeing Sam Pittman get a little nervous and everything. And I think that kind of demeanor held over into their it kind of trickled into their offense. But hats off to Oklahoma State for stepping up and taking care of business and defeating the SEC team as the ranked team at home when it looked like early on in that first half, things were going to get ugly for them.
Yeah. But I do think did I wonder if that came through on the air? I don't know what it's been the last couple weeks. Like the traffic out here is always like crazy.
It's insane.
But like we're like the angriest traffic stop in Waco now. I'm afraid I don't have to send Emory out there to diffuse a road rage situation. You can't stay mad when Emory's in the room. No. So he's just like, guys, we're all human beings. Okay. But yeah, with honking and all that. But they, back to Arkansas and Oklahoma State, like that was great news for Arkansas for a little bit, but then they just wound up being Arkansas. So it's not in the long run. It's just going to be like, well, if we'd been a little bit better coached, if we had done these things better, because it was the little things that got them. It was penalties and turnovers, and Taylor Green was really sloppy with the ball a couple times. I mean, he looked fantastic in stretches, but what that tells me is, if I'm an Arkansas booster and an Arkansas athletic director and all that, I'm just going to say, well, clearly we've got this guy, but we don't want to waste him. So let's get in somebody else who's not going to waste him.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought this up, because this is something I was thinking about watching that game on Saturday. Really, when their offense was rolling in the first half. Do you think this is one of those situations where they would allow Petrino to take over as head coach, like with him being there? Like, okay, you've brought him in, you've let the heat come. I
don't know.
But it feels like that would be an option that they would look at.
Yeah.
And I don't know how well it would go over, but it's just, you've got him in, you've gone through everything with all the backlash, it's working. I don't know. It's just something to keep in consideration.
I mean, would I be surprised that Bobby Petrino took that job under that exact scenario, which,
I'm just saying.
I mean,
weirder things have happened.
Yeah. No, I mean, that seems like a Bobby Petrino thing to do, where he would be like, oh no, I'd love to come back. I've always loved this place, and I feel awful about the way it ended. And, I should have been better, and blah, 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 blah. And then he comes in, the offense is great, but they're still not winning games. And he's like, how bad do you miss me?
Yeah.
Do you care that I ride motorcycles with female staffers anymore? Or I can tell you that I'm past that. So, I don't know. It would not surprise me.
It wouldn't either. That had never crossed my mind, but watching that first half and everything, I was like, because they kept going to him instead of Pittman. And I was just like, it just planted the seed in my head to think about.
Yeah. Oh, I love Sam. I trust Sam and everything he's doing here. That's why I believe in Sam. That's why I came here. I came back because I love Arkansas. I love Sam Pittman. I love this. And then if there's an interim situation, he's going to be like, well, I mean, I can't say no when this beloved institution comes to me and says that. Although I do think there's probably a section of the fan base that'll be like, no, we've done this before. Let's do a different thing. Let's do a thing that might live in San Marcos or San Antonio. Let's do that thing. Yeah. Let's go to Texas and get a guy, maybe a guy like, Jerry Jones lives in Highland Park. It's not like he has to go that far to call Rhett Lashley.
Nope.
Also, who didn't have a good week.
Ooh,
didn't have a good week.
In trouble.
So I say it's not a banner week for the Big 12. There were two programs who we expected three that we expected very little of, that all had good weeks, even though one of them did lose. Houston, and we're going to talk about those three. We're going to talk about BYU, Arizona State, and Houston next. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back. Paul Catalina, Garrett Ross. It's just the Monday mayhem. So the three teams I want to talk about here: Arizona State beats Mississippi State.
Yep.
And you got to see Dilly Ball. If you stayed up that late,
Which I struggled to.
which I didn't. I
did
not.
get to see CJ Fight's touchdown, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, but I didn't get to see any of the rest of it. No, they've got some talent at Arizona State. He's brought in some talent. I don't know if they have the depth to like prolong this, but Kenny Dillingham is one of the more exciting young coaches in the country, and you can see that. I think they're going to have spots of this where they have, and you saw it a little bit last year where they have, good games or things, that Cam Scatabo, like all they've good players there, really good players. And Alton McCaskill's
I was
there.
going to say they got McCaskill too. Yeah.
Yeah. McCaskill's there now too. Sam Levitt was a 4-star quarterback, so he's working with a really good quarterback coach. I mean, one of the coaches who made Bo Nix a first-round pick, and after he was not before.
Nowhere near.
And so Arizona State was very intriguing to me. BYU made SMU play exactly the way that BYU wanted that game to go. Like I just got the feeling watching it when I could, I had to produce that game the other night, but it was a really ugly game.
It was ugly.
But BYU needed it to be ugly. Like they made it ugly and kept it ugly. And then SMU could never put lipstick on the pig. Mm-hmm. They could never do it. They just couldn't. And Preston Stone didn't play. And now they've they have a.
So no, what happened was in that game, they put Preston Stone out there. And BYU had the perfect game plan because every time he dropped back, they would blitz and they rocked him. And so they had to adjust and they had to bring in their backup quarterback to be more mobile. Yeah. And Jennings, I mean, he was – and I'm kind of concerned right now with Preston Stone because that's 2 games where when he's gone out there, he has not looked good at all, and Jennings has had to come save the day. Now, given his – I guess trajectory on what people expected him to be, you're going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Mm-hmm. But – man, if he can't step up, like there's a good chance he's not going to be there next year because he's a statue in the pocket, man. And people have figured that out. And all you got to do is if you have anybody even half as athletic as what BYU could do and you could throw at them, they're in trouble at SMU.
Keep saying those things because I got to go there in 2 weeks.
If your defensive line can live up to their names.
Yeah, I don't. I'm just trying to glean any kind of good news off of college football that I can right now. And then Houston, who UNLV absolutely shredded, they go to Norman, and they kind of did to Oklahoma what BYU did to SMU, and I don't know what's going on with that offense there.
In Norman?
Like, I expected to be much, much, much more lethal.
Well, I know,
against Houston, but it was not.
If they're missing some playmakers,
Nick Anderson didn't play. They don't have the threats on the outside that you typically expect from an Oklahoma team, and maybe that's just the playmakers that we got accustomed to that Stoops was able to roll in, and then Lincoln Riley was able to do that. But with Venables being a defensive-minded guy, they haven't really been able. It's like they're building up on the trenches, the defense first, and then slowly working their way over and trying to address that. But it's not on par to what you expect from Oklahoma. And watching this game, it kind of reminded me of last year where Houston comes out against Texas in a game that they had no business competing in and literally should have won. Yeah. That's the exact same thing they did, or very reminiscent to UCF going up into Norman last year and giving Oklahoma trouble. But Jackson Arnold's a really good quarterback. I just am concerned about the depth at the offensive line for them, especially once they get into SEC play. But I mean, hats off to Houston for going in there and because after that first week, I don't think Houston should have been blown out if that was any indication. Yeah. Eye patch, SMU O-line is weak.
Yep.
Don't give the team down south too much credit. Both QBs were a joke statistically. I'm fascinated by all this going on. especially in light of Florida State losing the first couple weeks, and everybody kind of jumps on that they're the biggest disappointment. And guess what? There's a whole bunch of us.
They're one of them.
There's a whole bunch of us. We are legion. We are the college football disappointing group of teams, and there are many of us.
LSU's over there with you.
LSU let Nickel State have the time of their lives for a while.
They're so bad. And Jacoby and Gollery's gone for the year now. They're in trouble.
Yeah, I following along with that game, I kept thinking it was earlier than it was when I was watching the score. I was like, oh, this must have just started.
No.
And then I was like, and then they finally put on the,
they
put
had
it on them at the end.
Good plays.
But it they've shown weaknesses.
Yeah.
And I just think that this is let's get used to this in college football where it's going to be below about the top 7, a bit of a mess. And
I'm not here for it though.
I'm here for it. And here's another thing. The teams that are up here right now, there's a balance coming back, and it's affecting, it comes from the bottom up, right? And then, so the tide's rising where teams like Northern Illinois can go in and win at Notre Dame and play gritty and tough and hard and never for a minute look like they shouldn't have been there. Never for a minute.
Just like Boise State.
Yeah. Boise State gave Oregon all they wanted. I don't think that's as much of an indictment as Oregon as I do as it is. Boise State's really good.
Really
and they have who I think should be the Heisman favorite right now in Ashton Jeanty. If Oregon struggles again and again, then I'll be ready to do that. But
they do this every year. Oregon skits off like this every year doing this stuff.
I mean, Boise's really good. They have they have one of the best players in the country. Nobody's really going to have a lot of answers for him. I mean, he's got 9 touchdowns in 2 weeks. He's averaging 10 yards a carry. He's ridiculous. So let's now look, Oregon's in the warning zone. They
gotta be careful this week in the Apple Cup.
If it was the tornado warning, they would be in an area it could come to you. Leave your TV on. Get ready to get in the closet and cover your head. But they're not there yet. As where teams like FSU, Notre Dame, Auburn,
Texas A&M,
A&M, we'll see. We'll see. A&M's probably there with. LSU's in that with them over here. Oregon, A&M's over there with them. Notre Dame losing at home to a school that they were 28-point favorites, shows you, it's time. It's time. The tornado's in your area. That, and how you react to that is going to be the teller for the rest of the season.
So there's a couple of games we haven't hit on, and I know the Texas Tech, what the hell is going on with Texas Tech?
Yeah, you want to talk about
Let's
a team that's
Texas Tech.
You want to talk about a team that's batting down the hatches?
Yeah,
they're there. Yeah, no, they may be wanting to get whisked off to Oz right now because their defense is not good.
Abysmal.
Their offense was not good against Washington State at all. They got absolutely shredded in the Palouse there, and my gosh. Joey McGuire has got to be really searching for answers. And I don't think he's anywhere close to the hot seat, but I do think he's probably going to be in the you need new coaches situation at the end of this year.
Yeah. And I think we've touched on it a little bit, and Craig brought it up about how they were super quiet in Lubbock this year. And you wondered why. And, it was more so, I guess we kind of thought, was it you got out a little over your skis last year. You wanted to hone some of that in, and that would make more sense. But as the season's unfolded, maybe it was they saw some glaring issues and knew they shouldn't even talk, because I don't know how you really fix this defense at this point. And then the way your offensive line's been hit or miss, you still got to be concerned if Barrett Morton stay healthy.
The thing that I think is crazy is that Joey McGuire, he's kind of more defensive minded at heart. You go out and you run that wide open offense at Texas Tech because it's what you can recruit to. But I mean, he's fallen in the latest line of coaches that have not been able to figure out a defense out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it is, but yeah, I'm shocked at how bad on defense they are. Not that I expect them to all of a sudden beat Georgia, but I thought that they would get the balance in.
That's a good way of putting it.
Like they would get more balance to where they wouldn't have to either come from behind because they fell behind, or they wouldn't have to constantly ward off. Like, okay, yes, we're like they did against Abilene Christian, where it's like, oh God, like, can we just end this game? Like, go. Yeah, I thought they'd be a little bit better than that, but right now they're in it. They are absolutely in it. They're absolutely in it, and they're lucky not to be 0-2. I think that if ACU gets to the 2-point conversions, they're in trouble. Like,
they are.
I understand they're thinking, let's go win this thing on the road, but I'd rather have more opportunities than just that 2-point conversion. I would rather let's trade off with them and see what happens, kind of a thing, because that had been working for them. But yeah, they've got North Texas coming up next. It's another wide open offense. Chandler Morris is playing well in it right now with Eric Morris, the tech guy. So yeah, it's and look, the Big 12 and ACC, like, what is it? 7 of the top 8 teams are SEC teams now. 6 of the top 7.
It would be, should be 7 of the
Yeah. So look, the SEC is here. The Big 10 is here this year, and that's mostly because
being generous.
I mean, that's like mostly because like we don't know about Oregon yet. We don't know who Penn State's pretty good. I mean, clearly
they had a rough weekend.
They had a rough weekend.
Bowling Green should have beat them.
Yeah, that's a trap game though. I mean, yeah, but Bowling Green gave them all they wanted. And then you have the ACC and Big 12 here. If you watch what they've done now, credit to Clemson's offense. They went out and scored 66 points. Unfortunately, 33 of them can't count backwards. Because then that would have maybe Dabo thought like, hey, can we apply all the points that we need from this game to the last one? So then Georgia gets to do that too, I guess. But Clemson went out, and I don't want to say they fixed their offensive problems, but they showed something.
That was kind of my thing. It's like Georgia's defense is legit, and Clemson's defense is really good.
Yeah.
They just wore down.
Yeah.
But the inconsistencies from Cade Klubnik, and you finally saw it click a little bit. Now he's got to be able to bring that and be consistent. I don't think they could do what they did to App State by any means on a regular basis, but if you could get half of that production, or if you could at least score into like the low 30s, you should be able to win a majority of your games if you're Clemson in the ACC.
Yeah. And Clemson is off this week.
They need that.
So, if I'm reading this right, and I think that I am because I'm literate. Yeah, Clemson's first bye is this week. So we'll see how that goes for them. I get to watch Memphis and Florida State, 11 o'clock kickoff after we're done with the pregame here, from the comfort of my own home by myself, because my wife and my mom are going on a cruise together. So
you a little nervous?
Yeah, little nervous.
Little?
I'm a lot of nervous. All right. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up. We'll look ahead to this. We'll talk about some other things that we didn't do. There was just so much to talk about. I feel this show's been like a little bit haphazard, but my gosh, it was a crazy weekend. And I think we're going to see, there were only 2 ranked versus ranked games, and this was the most chaotic weekend it could have possibly been. And neither of the ranked versus ranked games. I mean, Tennessee drilled neither of those games. Texas drilled Michigan, who has more problems than just their offense, but their offense is a huge problem. It's a problem. Texas defense is really fantastic, but it's not like it's not as talented as it was a year ago, in my opinion.
No, it's not. It couldn't be.
Yeah, like they've lost some guys, but Michigan in no way should have gone out there and looked that bad on offense if they weren't already like. I'm not trying to take away from Texas's defense. I'm just saying if Michigan was even a shell of what it was, they would have made it interesting for a second. That game was boring.
Well, they neglected,
unless you're Paxton, and then
yeah, the congrats, man.
And then, honestly,
Texas
watching that game over and over again is going to replace some of the dirty websites you go to. That was unbelievable. It's just, yeah. If you're a Longhorn fan, my gosh,
soak it up.
It was a snuff film. Jeez. Or if you hate Michigan. Although Ohio State watches that and they're just like, why can't we do this?
Exactly.
We better do this.
That's what I kept thinking the whole time was like, can Ohio State claim this as a dub with Quinn Ewers, spending some time there? Can they actually count this?
Yeah. Like I don't think so. We'll break. We'll wrap it up right after this. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
Fantasy Sports EVO, the next evolution of daily fantasy sports. Tired of traditional fantasy sports where you spend hours upon hours studying individual players? EVO's unique team-based platform makes it easier than ever for all sports fans to play. No need to know individual players. Just choose your contest, select your teams, and enjoy the game. Whether you access our website from a desktop, mobile device, or the app, the experience is the same. EVO is for all sports fans. Join Fantasy Sports EVO and experience the evolution.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back, Paul Catalina, Garrett Ross. NFL season kicked off yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett, I'm sorry about the Commanders.
I'm used to it.
Although there's some promising things, but it's going to be
a work in progress.
It's a work in progress. I will say this: our long, annoying nightmare is over, in that Dak Prescott got the extension we all knew he was going to get in the first place. I think the reason we're mad is that Jerry does this when he doesn't need to, and we can just put it away. Like,
it's a show.
Just put it away and stop the show. You know you're going to do it.
He likes the attention, man.
I think part of the bigger problem is the Cowboys are always they're trying to think 30 moves ahead. And I get that. And that's where Steven comes in. He's so scared of the salary cap. And so the Eagles they've got a department that already knows these things. And so when Howie Roseman goes, okay, we're going to give Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith extensions this year. They've got a guy that's like, okay, here's the contracts I worked up for them. Here's scenario A through Z on all of them. And then okay, we're in scenario Q. Okay, we'll give them that contract and they'll say yes to it. Okay, over here, we're in scenario D and they give them that contract. That's where the Cowboys just react to, how about this much money?
Yeah.
And they're like, no. And then how about this much money? No. How about this much? I think that's where the difference is that the other front offices run a little bit smoother because they've got these, they have
buffers and
analytics and scenarios that are all created out over okay, if the salary cap goes up by this much, if it doesn't go by this much, let's protect this. The Cowboys maybe more react to it in a year-to-year thing where the teams that are constantly not worried by this or they don't get freaked out like the Cowboys do. They just go to the kid with the pocket protector and the calculator. And he's like, okay, well, I didn't want scenario M. That was the one I hated the most, but here it is.
Mm-hmm.
If we want them, we have to do this. Here's scenario M, and they've got it. That's where the Cowboys are just like, nope. Okay. Oh, look, here it is. We can't work on two contracts at once.
No, it's impossible.
That's madness. And the other thing is, sometimes they will give somebody a contract extension way early, and that person is Jalen Smith. And then the minute he gets the money, the knee becomes a problem, and he's not as fast as he was anymore. So they just never hit the sweet spot.
Nope.
But that's over, and they beat the Browns yesterday.
They look pretty good.
I'll tell you.
Deshaun did not.
No.
Good Lord.
No. What an interesting fetish to give up your career for.
I was thinking the same thing.
Like,
was it really worth it?
I mean, weird, right?
Very. I blame Dabo.
Man, I'm sure like he goes over to the sideline and is like, Deshaun, you look a little disheveled out there. Like, what would make you? So I know what would make. No one's doing that for you, Deshaun. We can't have somebody come in here and do that. Are you sure? Like, I mean, I could know him. They just have to pretend like I don't know him.
Right.
And then we just go through the process.
It's just the whole thing.
It's just about the role play to me. But I don't know. The Browns got fleeced on that deal. Absolutely fleeced. The Texans are going to go to the playoffs like 10 years in a row now. And the Browns, who were way better without, like, I honestly think that Jameis Winston's going to wind up being the quarterback for the majority of the season, and they'll be fine. Their defense is really good. Jameis Winston will throw the ball around at Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman and the other receivers they have. And Njoku got hurt, I don't know, but they'll be fine. I think Deshaun is the anchor right now. Because lest we forget, it's not just the massage therapist thing and the lawsuit. Before that even happened, he got so mad at the Texans he didn't want to play for them at all.
Quit.
He just said, I don't want to play for the Texans at all. I don't like this. I don't like the way it's going. I don't want to play for the Texans at all. And the Texans, instead of, like, they were kind of just painted into a corner, but I would have just traded him then. But they let him sit out the whole year, enact it. Like, I can't wait to talk to John McClain tomorrow because I'm going to ask him about not what everything after that happened that obviously made it worse with Deshaun Watson, but that particular year where he just wasn't playing. How that, like,
was that an Easterby thing?
There's the whole O'Brien, Easterby, all of that. Easterby, I think, was a big part of it.
That's what I was,
because I remember asking John, like,
that seemed,
you can always get a team chaplain. Like, why do you let this guy climb up the ladder? And he even kind of chuckled about it. He's like, well, it's not as big a, like, it's probably been a little blown out of proportion, but yeah, there's no way he should have ever had that much sway over the owner. And as you see, since he's gone and Nick Caserio is there,
seem a little better.
Things are a lot better. I mean, again, they went and fleeced the Browns for Deshaun Watson. The Browns are like, we don't care about any of that stuff. He hasn't played in 2 years. He hadn't played in a year, and then he came up, promptly got hurt, and he was suspended, all that. Yeah, I don't know.
Got any excitement level for tonight's game?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm interested. Let's see if Aaron Rodgers makes it to 5 whole plays this year, as opposed to 4 last year. He got hurt. And Aaron Rodgers is an interesting guy in that I still think he can probably be one of the better quarterbacks in the league, even after all this. But he's had his ups and downs. But I do wonder, like, when you start thinking about running for vice president with RFK and which, I mean, how nuts do you have to be to, like, be an RFK Jr. supporter when he's like, who I'm thinking about is Aaron Rodgers, and you're like, the current quarterback for the New York Jets? Like, I mean, vice president's a way crappier job than quarterback for the Jets. I know the Jets suck, but, like, vice president's a really crappy job considering quarterback for the Jets. Like, I'd rather be a quarterback for any crappy NFL team than be the vice president. And I understand there's prestige that comes with it, but I'd rather be the actual president. And ask most vice presidents, that's what they would tell you.
Yep.
I only applied for this job because I want the next one.
To step up.
I want the next one. I'll call it the George H.W. Bush rule. Like, look, this was fine. This was fine. I enjoyed my time. This is a great house and all, but this one's better. Yep. I want that one. So yeah, all that, it seems like Aaron Rodgers, and again, he's invited all this noise into himself. I don't think that that's a good thing. I think I think that's part of the thing that Colorado has, because Deion's so combative now. Like, just bring it back to college football. Like, Deion's so combative, his personality invites all the noise. And then when he doesn't make changes that he knows he needs to make, the biggest thing with Colorado being Deion Sanders knows that team needs to be better up front, and they're not. The other thing about this, and he's brought in a bunch of guys that are like Terrell Owens is on this, like around the team.
Warren
He's on
Sapp's up
the Warren
there.
Sapp's there. Just because you were great at something does not mean you're great at teaching it.
Yes. We see that too often.
Some of the best players ever could not coach their way out of a wet paper bag. Peyton Manning, I think, knows this about himself. Because Peyton Manning, while he knows everything and he had a process and all that, he also, John Elway could not coach, because part of it is like, okay, well, when you see this guy just throw it over there, you're like, well, you can do that because you have the laser rocket arm. I have to be more this way. Michael Jordan was good at pushing his teammates, but he could have never been a coach because people are like, well, how do you do this? And he's like, I mean, I just do, you know? So Warren Sapp in particular was like, even as big as he is, stronger than he should have even been for being as big as he was. The only guy stronger in the NFL when Warren Sapp was in the NFL was Larry Allen, who's the strongest guy who may ever play in the NFL. And so Larry Allen and Warren Sapp were the only two guys who could do what they were doing. I remember watching a bench press competition that they did an alignment challenge, and I thought, oh, nobody's going to beat Warren Sapp. And then Larry Allen got out there and was like, how many did he do? 7? Here's 4 to make it 11. I'm open all night long, bitches. You know, like, ba-bump. Done. So, like, but they can't teach it. Like, I wouldn't want Terrell Owens, like, coaching me to do anything.
Nope.
I mean, he's just like all over the map. And maybe Dion sees an opportunity for mentorship here. And that's great, whatever it is. But, you know, you've got Pat Shurmur in there, who's been a long-time coach, but I don't think he fits the college game at all. And he doesn't fit what you're trying to do, or you're not matching him up with people that are helping him. They need more, like, they need guys, you know, to come in and do that. And I think when you invite distraction in from the outside, the Cowboys have done it for years. Jerry invites distraction in from the outside. You know, Bill Belichick was great at just leaving everything at the door. And the Eagles right now, 49ers, Chiefs. The Chiefs have had a lot of controversy around that team, but they're able to leave it at the door. You know, not a controversy, but like, no, like, good thing. Like, it's great that Travis Kelce's dating the most famous human being on the planet.
But those are
That's
big
great for
distractions.
him. That's great. But somehow they're not distracted by it because they can leave it all at the door. Like, it doesn't matter who you're dating. It doesn't matter who you're married to. It doesn't, like, all these things don't matter in here. But because, again, once those doors shut behind you, it's all business. The Cowboys, the door's never shut behind you. Colorado, the door's never shut behind you. Aaron Rodgers, the doors are never shutting behind him. And so everything just comes right in, as where the teams that are elite at it, they just block it all out. And I think Matt Rule's done a great job of that at Nebraska. I think it's right. Shut all out. You know what Florida State's problem is right now?
Too much
the noise barreled down. Like, I know Mike Norvell does not want any of the noise. I know it. He hates all this. He ultimately doesn't, like, he does not care what conference they play in as long as they have a shot. As long as we have a shot and we have the money that we need, that's all I care about. Tell me at the end of the day where we're going to be. I'll give you my opinion about where I want to be, but tell me where we're going to be, and I'll try to win that way. That's all he's going to tell you. And I bet you he even said, like, can we try to just make this ACC thing better? Like, this kind of worked out historically for us. Like, can we?
That'd be the best thing for everybody.
Can we try to make this better? There was no effort to that, though. There's not been any effort to that on Florida State's part or the ACC's part. Like, there's not been any effort to that. But the noise has bowled in the door, and you can't stop it. This is probably going to have to be, I've kind of accepted for them, a lost season in so many regards. But if it means that you can get all the noise out and restart later with some really good talent that you have and figure out who you are in high school recruiting, then fine. That's the new era. You're going to see this occasionally. But and like, look, DJU, who I think is a good guy. I don't think he's a bad teammate or anything like that. He's a really good teammate, really good guy, but he did bring in some noise with him in addition to that because he had not been great at Clemson and he was just okay at Oregon State. And, and
he wasn't Cam Ward.
He wasn't Cam Ward and he's not Jordan Travis.
Yeah.
Nobody is Jordan Travis, who's my favorite son. So Paxton, he did record the Texas game.
There you go.
Listen, Paxton, what you do with that in your own time is your business. I'm not like the governor. I'm not trying to tell you what to do and what to like and what to enjoy. But what you did is that's your business, buddy.
I respect it. That's funny.
So Joey McGuire last year led in the noise. Now they tried to stop it, but they might have done a good job of stopping the noise now. But the thing is that once that's done, you have to get people who can block and tackle.
I think that's something you could draw a parallel to the struggles that Texas had and the success they've had now. They seem to have figured out how to block that out. Kirby Smart in Georgia have figured out definitely how to block out noise.
Yeah, or just take it and make shit up.
Yeah, just run with it.
Oh, everybody thinks we suck. Who's everybody? Who?
Yeah.
Like one lonely Alabama fan? Man, Georgia sucks. They're always going to suck. You hear that guy? You hear Jethro over there? Yeah, that guy thinks you suck.
It was like something pulled up on a message board for Mark Rick like a decade ago.
Look at all these people that say you suck. All these people who aren't you and who haven't played you or will ever play you. But yeah, I mean, anyway. But that's my little philosophical note for the day.
Like it.
You leave the noise at the door. It's something that I preach in this building, and sometimes I'm successful with, and sometimes I'm not. But you leave the noise at the door, everything's going to be better. This is this thing, that's that thing. We've got to do our thing. But all the teams with the noise in the door, man, it's evident. Look, Auburn and Hugh Freeze, when you get Mr. Company credit card,
you're going to get some distractions.
You're going to get some attention. You're going to get some attention. Mr. I'll coach up a QB. All right. Well,
have at it. Good luck.
Can you pick a better one to coach up? I'm just saying nobody's stopping you from getting one. Like, we've got money here, Hugh, go get him. Like, no. This kid really speaks my language. He also does not know what a burner phone is.
Nope.
I wonder, we were trying to describe to Smokey the other day how you can plug your laptop into a monitor. And it was, I know people in the message board may get this. You guys won't because none of you have probably seen City Slickers.
I have.
Okay,
Billy
so
Crystal
City Slickers, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the scene in City Slickers where he's trying to describe how to record a thing without TV. Mm-hmm. That was discussion was like, oh, you don't need a TV to record. Well, how does it know? Like, no, you just have to program it. It's like, he doesn't get it. He'll never get it. Just leave it alone. Like that. Jack almost said that to me. He's not going to get it, Paul. I'm like, no. We just plug it in. But where's the computer go? Onto the monitor. But what about my laptop? You're still on your laptop. No, I'm on the monitor. The monitor is just a screen. There's one in front of you that Garrett is doing right now. We'll do that for your computer. I don't get it.
No.
I wonder if that was the same thing about a burner phone and Hugh Freeze, where it's like, Coach, you should probably just get a different cell phone. Like, what do I mean a different cell phone? I can only have one cell phone. You can have as many cell phones as you want. Mm-hmm. Well, this one is a burner phone. Well, does it catch on fire? No. It means that, like, if anything ever happens, you just get rid of it. Nobody knows. Well, what about my phone that you guys gave me? I don't pay for that one. Like, that's on you guys. I don't want to pay for a second cell phone. Well, I'm just telling you, Coach, that maybe if you want to do some of these things, you should have a cell phone that doesn't trace back to you. Well, why does this phone trace back to me and this one doesn't? Coach.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Don't do it. Like, maybe you get on WhatsApp. I don't know. What's WhatsApp? Anyway, today we've got a really fun show for you today. Super excited. Coach Hammock from Northern Illinois is going to be on the show. Nicole Auerbach is going to be on the show. We've got tons to get to. So
Phil Bennett.
What?
Phil Bennett.
No, yeah, Phil Bennett on video. You get to see
the glory.
One of the more handsome coaches in the country. They're on video. I can't wait for that. So it's going to be a great show today. Please tune in an hour. We'll see you then. This is 365 Sports.